So anyway, with that, I will do some reading and then we can chat. And I'm nervous because there's so many scholars, but I'll do some shorter pieces. This one is called National Defeat Day, National Liberation Day. Flipping through my United States passport as if it were a comic book, the custom man at the Noi Bai airport near Hanoi appeared curious. "Brother, when did you leave Vietnam?" "Oh, 2 days before Ngày Mất Nước, National Defeat Day," I say, without thinking. It was an exile's expression, not his. "Oh my God, when did that happen?" asked the man in a comic and exaggerated tone. "Oh, the 30th of April 1975. "But," he said, "don't you mean National Liberation Day? Ngày Giải Phóng?" Well, if this conversation had occurred a decade earlier, the difference would have created a dangerous gap between the Vietnamese and the returning Vietnamese American. But this happened a couple of decades after the war had ended, when the walls were down and the borders porous. And as I studied the smiling young official, it occurred to me that there was something about this moment, an epiphany. Yeah, I suppose I do mean Liberation Day. Though not everyone remembers the date with a smile. It marked the Vietnamese diaspora, boat people, refugees. On April 28, 1975, my family and I escaped from Saigon in a crowded C-130 cargo plane a few hours before the airport was bombed. We arrived in Guam the next day in time to hear the BBC's tragic account of Saigon's demise. U.S. helicopters flying over the chaotic city, Viet Cong tanks rolling in, Vietnamese climbing over the gate into the U.S. Embassy, boats fleeing down the Saigon River toward the South China Sea. In time, April 30th became the birth date of an exile's culture built on defeatism and a sense of tragic ending. For a while, many Vietnamese in America talk of revenge, of blood debts, of the exile's anguish. Their songs had nostalgic titles like "The Day When I Return" and "Oh, Mother Vietnam, we are still here." April 30th, 1976. A child of 12 with nationalistic fervor, I stood in front of San Francisco City Hall with other refugees. I waved the gold flag with 3 red horizontal stripes. I shouted, to no one in particular, "Give us back South Vietnam!" April 30th, 1979. An uncle told me there was an American plan to retake our homeland by force, the way Douglas MacArthur did for the South Koreans in the 50s. My 18-year-old brother declared that he would join the anti-communist guerrilla movement in Vietnam. My father sighed. April 30th, 1983. I stay awake all night with Vietnamese classmates from Berkeley to listen to monotonous speeches by angry old men. National defeat must be avenged by sweat and blood, one vowed. But through the years, April 30th has come to symbolize something entirely different to me. Although I sometimes mourn the loss of home and land, it's the American landscape and what it offers that solidify my identity. This date of tragic ending from an optimist point of view is also an American rebirth, something close to the 4th of July. I remember whispering to a young countryman during one of those monotonous April 30th rallies in the mid-80s, even as the old man speaks of patriotic repatriation, we've already become Americans. Assimilation, education, the English language, the American eye, these have carried me and many others farther from that beloved tropical country than the C-130 ever could. Each optimistic step the young Vietnamese takes toward America is tempered with a betrayal of Little Saigon's parochialism, its sentimentalities, and the old man's outdated passion. When did this happen? Who knows? One night, America quietly seeps in and takes hold of one's mind and body, and the Vietnamese soul of sorrow so slowly fades away. In the morning, the Vietnamese American speaks a new language of materialism. His vocabulary is peppered with phrases like double income, Mercedes-Benz, and 2-car garage. My brother never made it to the Cambodian jungle. The would-be guerrilla fighter became instead a civil engineer. My talk of endless possibilities is punctuated with favorite verbs: become, redefine, transcend. I want to become a writer, I declared to my parents one morning. My mother gasped. April 30th, 1975, defeat or liberation. It was a day of joyous victory, say a retired communist official in Hanoi. We fought and realized Uncle Ho's dream of national independence. Then the men asked for Marlboro cigarettes and a few precious dollars. Nguyen Nguyen, a real estate salesman in San Jose and a former South Vietnamese naval officer, said, I could never forget that date. So many people die, so much blood. I could never tolerate communism, you know. Mai Hung, a young, smartly dressed Vietnamese businesswoman in Saigon, had another opinion. Of course it was National Liberation Day, she said, but it's the South, she told me with a wink, that liberated the North. Indeed, conservative Uncle Ho has slowly admitted defeat to entrepreneurial and cosmopolitan Miss Saigon. She has taken a meaning from a different uncle, you know? Uncle Sam. The customs man, on the other hand, stamped my passport and say, man, there are no winners, no losers. You're just lucky. You left Vietnam and became an American. April 30th, 1994. In the Berkeley Hills, in a house that gave to the bay, my Vietnamese American friends and I watched Gone with the Wind for the umpteenth time and looked for the scene of our unrequited longings. Scarlet, teary-eyed with wind-blown hair, returning to live in forlorn Tara. She is doing something we no longer can, or rather, we go only to look and sometimes to enter houses where we once lived, but then we take leave. Children of defeat, self-liberating adults. We hugged instead, and over a couple of bottles of very dry Merlot, recounted to each other our own stories of flight. Thank you.